Now the OKEkBot version 5.0 has been installed on the computer. All we have to do is to click on Finish. Exit all pages and we can start using the OKEkBot. A side note, OKEkBot requires you run as administrator. So by default, you can't just click on OKEkBot and have it running. To get it working, it can only work when you run as administrator. Double clicking OKEkBot would open up a white screen like this, and this could stay this way forever. However, right clicking and launching OKEkBot as administrator would give you full functionalities and would load and show up properly. So it is quite well to be noted to run OKEkBot as administrator, as not doing that will give you a white screen that would be that way infinitely. Next, after launching OKEkBot as administrator, is to head over to the Nest. On the Nest, again, you're being presented with a form to put in your API key. If you're using OKEkBot for the first time, this might actually come very challenging. But if you're an existing user of OKEkBot, I presume you understand by now what an API key means and how to get it. In a very simple short note, an API key is more like a private key. It is a special key you can actually create and change at any time that helps you manage every single bot you have on OKEkBot. Picture it this way. Each time you open up Google Chrome, you could have tons and tons of profile. For instance, at the moment, I only have 2 profiles over here. On each Google profile, I could decide to log into a different email, and I could have as many Google profiles as possible, which simply means as many emails as possible. However, the drawback with this is I can only log into one Google profile as a human being to do whatever I want to do on the web. But what if I want to have as many Google profiles as possible and automate tasks that will be executed on lots of them? In a nutshell, what if I would want to have 300 browsers, having 300 different Gmail accounts, Facebook accounts, YouTube accounts, and have every single one of this particular profile run tasks automatically without having to be here myself doing it manually? That is where OKEkBot comes in. OKEkBot stores every single browser configuration on the server, and an API key is the way to link up to your servers. I will give you a short demonstration using my own API key. So on this section, I will put in my API key, which you can also get yours by creating one on the website. Having put in my API key, I will click on Authenticate API key. It will download my bot state. What this simply means is, just like Google Chrome, it would head over to OKEkBot servers and download every single browser I have on OKEkBot. Let me show you an example of how this works. Now I'm logged into OKEkBot. I will click on the menu. On this menu, you can see where it says Manage Bots. I will click on this Manage Bots. Having clicked on the Manage Bots, you can see lots of devices. These are practically browsers. Each and every one of these browsers has a different configuration, a different user agent, a different fingerprint, a different bot state. Just to make you understand properly, each and every single one of this browser you see here, or each and every one of this name on the list, is a name to a Google profile setting. In other words, this is a virtual bot. Why we call it a bot is because it's not just a browser with a specific configuration. We call it a bot because you can actually automate tasks and activities on these browsers individually, in real time, sending signals manually, or using an advanced launcher. I'm going to walk you through what I mean, one step at a time. On this list, we have IV Chicago 001, IV Chicago 002. This practically means each and every single one of this name refers to a specific device in a specific time zone, and each of the name is practically an identification to show that these devices are completely different. I'm going to tick one of these devices. I'm going to head up and even tick some more. This is to let you see that the moment I turn these devices on, each and every single one of these devices will be popped up, but each and every single one of them would have a different boot state, which means they will have different browser settings, cookies, cache, fingerprints, and data identity. I'm going to click on the on button over here. I'm going to confirm I want to turn on these 3 bots, and I'll hit confirm. Within the next few seconds, you're going to see some pop-up. These pop-up are basically browsers with special configurations. Each and every single one of these browsers being popped up would have a different identity, and I would show you how to verify that each and every one of them is completely different. I'm going to slide each and every one of these pop-up over here. And I will start with telling you the difference between each of them. To start with, each and every single one of these devices mimics a particular real device. If we head back to the OKEKBot software, you can clearly see that the device called Chicago 001 mimics a Pixel 3 XL, device 002 or IV Chicago 002 mimics a OnePlus 6, and IV Chicago 003 mimics a Samsung Galaxy S7. To verify this, I would head over to a website called deviceinfo.me. Deviceinfo.me is a website used to check the device currently being, assessed or currently viewing a website. For instance, you can see right here that is saying this device is a OnePlus. If I copy this link and have this link being pasted here as well, you would also see it's going to be a different device. For instance, this device is claiming to be an SM, which should be a Samsung, if I'm not mistaken. But I would only confirm when I paste here, because one of the devices, from what we saw, mimics a Samsung. So this is a Pixel 3 XL. This is a OnePlus, and this is a Samsung, just like I had suspected. Now you can clearly see this particular OKEKBot practically keeps the configuration of different devices. And the best part of this is that this software is completely invasive of bot detection systems. One of our most popular bot detection software online has been BrowserScan. BrowserScan detection system is basically a system that detects irregularities on your browser. For instance, if I scroll down right here, my time zone is currently showing America, New York, which I presume do not relate with what I have here. As I can see, I have Chicago over here. Now, this is practically because when this device was created, it was created with a Chicago time zone. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if I decide to change this, as OKEKBot gives you the functionalities of changing your device time zone to any time zone of your choice. But more specifically, I was more interested in bringing you to BrowserScan, so we can click on the bot detection. The bot detection on BrowserScan shows you that this particular bot or device passes all bot tests. This includes WebDriver, user agents, CDP, and Navigator. This is not just for this device. This is practically for every one of these devices. OKEKBot was programmed in a secure way where it bypasses virtually every bot detection system. So this simply means that using OKEKBot, you are safe from bot detection systems. At this point in time, it is evident that OKEKBot completely clones a device. Now, the next question would be, how do I get to create my own bot? To do that, I would first shut down the bot we had just on earlier. I'm going to click on the power off button, confirm I want to off this bot, and then I'll move into letting you know how to create your own bot on OKEkBot. As a start on OKEkBot, over here is the menu. Whenever you click on this menu, you're being presented with advanced features, such as a creator mode to create things on the OKEkBot, a launcher mode to launch actions, activities, automated tasks, and a manage bot section to manage your bots, which is turn them on individually and have anything you would want to do on them privately, should you want to have a manual override of your bots. To show you how to create your own bots, you would have to click on the creator mode. I would click on the creator mode on this menu, and on the creator mode, you can see I have 3 options. The first option is to create bots, the second option is to create locations, and the third option is to create tasks. Let us start with the first option, create bots. When I click on create bots, we're going to be presented with a new section. This section is basically a panel where you can create as many bots as possible. We made it easy to create bots, whereby you only have to move the slides to specify how many devices from a particular device brand you want, and OKEkBot will randomly pick up devices from a device pool. For instance, on the iPhone section, we have just 4 at the moment, but the more I move the slide, it keeps on picking up lots of devices from the iPhone device brand so as to meet the 9 devices. For instance, we have one iPhone 11 here, 2 iPhone 14, one iPhone 14 Plus, 2 iPhone 13. You get the point. Now, to create bots on these video tutorials, just to show you an example, I would move this once again to 10. So this simply means I want to create a bot, or I want to create lots of bots, but I want 10 of them to be iPhones. Now, what about if I wanted to say create about 15 more devices, Android devices? Now, this simply means I will just have to move this slider once again down to 15. So now I have 10 iPhones and 15 Androids. Now at this point in time, I could decide to add even more devices, such as a Mac device or a Windows device, whichever. But I think you already understand and get the point that creating devices is simple as moving up your cursors or moving up the sliders. After moving up the slider and having OKEkBot randomly pick up devices, each of these devices are barely configuration of browsers. At the moment, they are not yet created. To finalize the creation of each and every one of these devices, you would have to pick up a time zone and give them what we call a bot family name. So the way we created OKEkBot, we assumed people would want to automate tasks from different locations. So we made it possible where you can create different bots, which theoretically would virtually refer to different devices or browsers. These devices and browsers could be coming in from different locations, as you might want to automate tasks coming in from different locations. To make this more understandable, I would start with creating devices by giving them a name called UK. So now this simply means I'm giving this whole bot a name called UK, but simply because each bot cannot have the same name as another bot. In other words, on OKEkBot, we maintain a unique bot name system where every bot is identified with a unique name, so their bot state can be managed and so you can manage them properly. In this regard, when you give different bots or a multitude of bots a family name, OKEkBot would compile or list every single bot you have moved or generated through your movement of this range and assign them a family name followed by an ID. Now what this simply means is, since I decided to give this bot, a family name of UK, when I try to create this bot, OKEkBot could say iPhone 11 is UK 001, iPhone 14 UK 002. There's another iPhone 14 here because I can see two, which means 003. There's a 14 plus, which means 004. You get the point. So basically, OKEkBot will list every single one of those devices into a particular list and give them a base name of UK, followed by a 001 to as many as possible um, limits. In this case, we have a total of 10 bots plus 15 from Android 25 plus 10 for macOS 35, and I would just leave this again at 10, so we have 45. So in a nutshell, we have a total of 45 bots, 10 from iPhone, 15 Android, 10 Mac OS, 10 Windows. Now I'm going to step down and move to the next step. After giving a bot or group of bots a bot family name, which they would all be based off, like in this instance, we said UK, the next step is to give them a time zone. This time zone refers to where this particular device would always have its time clock being originating from. So, for instance, every single device, real device you have in your custody, has a time zone. This is practically what is the time of the device. Now, when you use a proxy, sometimes the proxy comes from a different location other than where the browser is originating from. So a time zone is basically trying to clone the proxy. This is to state that whatever time zone you put in here, irrespective of the proxy, the device would always stick to this time zone. So it is advisable to put a time zone that you'd know you would have proxies to match that time zone. Else, this could be an issue with the detection systems where the time zone is different and the IP location has a different time zone as well. So if the device time zone doesn't collide with the IP time zone, it becomes a detection issue. So in a nutshell, make sure you have this properly in place. Since the bot family is called UK, I would assume this bot would be having a time zone of Europe. So over here, I'm going to give it a time zone of Europe stroke Amsterdam. Now, this simply means that the whole of this device that had been pulled would be created, given a base name of UK, and they would all have a time zone, a device time zone of Europe stroke Amsterdam. And now, it's more than enough for you to get started. However, most users might want to have what we call a fixed IP. This is where a device is being created with a proxy. Now, this is not required. You can always add a proxy from your proxy chain, but you can create a device to use a hard embedded proxy. This helps you in case of a fallback, as you could be using different proxy chains from the same location, but should you accidentally turn on the bots without a proxy chain or on the manage section without a proxy chain, the default proxy server would kick in. Now I'm going to click on start build. This would start building every single bot. In other words, the bot that was initially kept in a list would now be created on OKEkBot, giving that name, just like I said, starts with a base name 001, 002, down to the last number 0045, which in other words basically states that every single one of the device on this particular list has been created on OKEkBot, giving UK 001 down to 0045. At this point in time, we can simply say our devices has been created. Now, what we do with these devices is up to us. There are lots and lots of things we could do. We could automate tasks and have them being executed by these devices. So once again, I'm going to click on the menu over here. On the menu, I'll click on creator mode. On the creator mode, I would click on create task. Now, create task is basically a menu to teach you how to create activities and actions that the bot would execute. So let me open up my Google Chrome once again. Let's assume I want to make a Google search. I can head over to my Google Chrome, head over to google.com, and when google.com pops up, I could decide to make a search. Let's say, for instance, I'm a sports betting person and I look for the word or the search string SportyBet virtual football prediction. Searching for this on Google would give me lots of results. I can go through this result as a human being and I can decide to visit any of the link. Now, this is me practically going through the search results as we speak as a human being. I could decide to go through the first result over here and see how I can move around this website. Now, what I just did right now was a chain of tasks. The task started with me opening up google.com. After heading over to google.com, I entered this search box and I searched for this keyword SportyBet virtual football prediction software or prediction software, whichever, and then I clicked on a link. Now, the moment I did this, three major things has happened to whoever owns this website. The first thing, whoever owns this website would have gotten what we call an organic visitor. Since this link was opened from Google and then a navigation was done to this particular page where predictions are being given, and this page has advertisements being displayed on it, Google would record this particular visit as an organic visit as it came in through Google. If I would want to spend over 30 minutes on this page, this means my impressions, my views, and even my AdSense earnings would skyrocket because as a human being have been able to, come here and spend some time. However, what if I want to have 200 browsers all making a Google search, landing on this website and spending some time here just to increase the visibility of this particular web page? Now you get the point. This means I would have to create 200 Google profiles. On these 200 Google profiles, I would have to go to each and every one of them to make a Google search, to land on the search result page, head over to the website, click on the link for the predictions, and stay there for hours. As a human being, getting to do this manually simply means I would be drained and exhausted. But let me show you how to automate a task to do this on OKEkBot. So I'm going to first head over to my first browser and I would right click and click on inspect. Once I click on inspect, over here just before where it says elements, I would click on this mobile stroke laptop or desktop. Here where we have dimensions responsive, I would click on it and I would change this dimension responsive to something like, say, an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, what I've practically done right now is to switch on Google and make Google to emulate an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, this is practically because the whole activity we just did a few minutes ago would now be automated using OKEkBot. And I will show you how it works in real time. So firstly, I will head over to google.com again. On google.com, you must have noticed that the way it's being showed now is quite different from the way it showed when the screen was in huge full screen view. This is because initially that was a desktop view. A desktop view is completely different from a mobile view. And so when you automate tasks on okekbot.com, you can create as many tasks as possible, tasks for desktop and tasks for mobile. On this next set of steps, I will teach you on how to create task for mobile. So I'm going to exit this desktop view and keep my eyes focused on this mobile view where we're currently emulating an iPhone 14 Pro Max. OKEkBot has so many features. I would start with telling you the features we have from the free down to the pro. On the free version of OKEkBot, we can practically give it a website to visit. From the initial tutorial I had shared, we practically went to Google, we made a Google search just so as to get over to a website and then visit a particular page on the website so as to generate impressions, page views, and even ads revenue. However, this can only be done on OKEkBot using a pro feature. One of those pro feature is called the secondary pro. So let me walk you through how it works. I'm going to click on where it says freeloader tools, and on the freeloader tools, I would take it down to the secondary pro tools. On the secondary pro tools, you can clearly see I now have a ton of options. So let me explain how it works here on OKEkBot. The above you see over here is what we call a toolbox. Now, this toolbox practically determine your access. If you're using OKEkBot on the free tier, you would only have access to the freeloader. If you're using OKEkBot on the primary pro, which is paid plan, you would only have access to the primary pro with its features. If you have access to the secondary pro, it means you would have access to the secondary pro features. That goes for the GPT. So this is to note that what I'm about to show you right here would be done on a pro plan, which is the secondary pro tools. But I would generate traffic, views, engagements, and I would show you how these would all be deployed without a single bot detection because of how the OKEkBot system works. So let us go back to the tutorial. I will click on the secondary pro tools. On the secondary pro tools, I have two major departments: primary action and secondary action. Let us start with the primary action. On the primary action, this basically refers to the first thing the bot would do the moment it receives this task. Now, this could be to visit a website. So on this particular tutorial, I would want the bot, upon receiving this task, to visit google.com. So on the primary actions, I would enter a URL that says google.com. Next, I would move over to put how many seconds I would want the bot to actually be on google.com before it can start performing secondary actions. I wouldn't want it to spend lots of time on google.com since we're going to be mimicking a human being who just humped up on his device to make a Google search. In order to be able to mimic a human being and make this completely undetectable, we have to choose a time range. So I'm going to give it 3 to 7. This simply means that after google.com has been fully loaded, the bot or the browser should spend within 3 to 7 seconds before it starts performing any further activities. Now, in order to tag this wall, I would give this task a name and I will call this Google search. Now, this is the primary action. Time to set the secondary action. On the secondary action, I would click on secondary action. The secondary action basically mimics a user journey on a browser. So just the same way when I visited google.com, as a human being, the first thing I did was to hit this search section to type in what I want to search for. So in order to achieve this, I would right click on where it says there is a search inbox. This is the search inbox. I would right click and copy the full extract of this search inbox and I would want to type in something on this search inbox. So how do I do that? On OKEkBot, if you pay attention to here, you can see where it says click expert. Now this simply means that the expert we just copied can be clicked upon. But what we want right here is not just to click on it. If this was an image, a post, a button, or whatever I wanted to click on, that will be fine. But since this is actually an input section where we want to type something into, it simply means we would not be clicking on it, but actually be typing something into it. So on this section where it says click expert, I would click here and change it to type into expert, hit enter. What this simply means is I would provide an expert and it would type a text into this expert that has been provided. For instance, on the video or on the beginning of this video, we had searched for Sportybet prediction software. Now, this was what we searched for on Google. Now, on OKEkBot, we're saying we want this browser or whatever browser we created, as many as possible, to head over to this expert and type in Sportybet prediction software. After typing that, next is how long we would want to pause before we move into the next action. This is practically because computers are very fast with taking actions, and in order to mimic a human being, we have to take little pauses in order to simulate that authenticity of a human. So I'm going to say within 2 to 3 seconds. So what this simply means is it would head over to Google, just like it did said on the primary action, spend 3 to 7 seconds on google.com, after which it will type into this expert Sportybet prediction software, after which it would stay 2 to 3 seconds before it moves over to the next secondary task, if there is any. Now, let me make this make sense to you. On OKEkBot, we practically automate every single thing a human being can do on a browser and have different browsers carry out this automation independently. So practically, we describe step-by-step actions to be taken, after which these actions will be executed just as described. So for instance, we just stated that Sportybet prediction software should be typed into this expert. In order to have this as one of the actions to be executed, I would click on the plus icon. Now I've clicked on the plus icon, you can see this has been imputed. So what this simply means is that on the secondary action, we're going to type and hit enter on this expert, wait for 2 to 3 seconds. Now, this will just simply head over to this particular browser and type on Sportybet prediction software. Now this is exactly what it would do, but this was not what we just wanted. We also wanted it to actually visit this website over here, which is the link over here. So what do we do next? Now this is where OKEkBot comes in handy. What we need to do next is to click on this history over here. On the history over here, we can do what we call click similar link. Whenever you open up a page, there are lots of links on that page. If you want to click on any of the link, all you have to do is to choose the next secondary action or task, which is click similar link. This click similar link only takes in the link we would want to click and how many seconds we would want to stay after clicking on this link. The link we would want to click is realapps.com/choosy.vfl. But if you pay detailed attention, this might not be exactly what it looks like on Google. So I would right click and inspect. I can see on Google that this link is called realapps.com/signal, but I presume there is usually a redirect each time you click on it. So it seems whenever you open realapps/signal, it gets redirected to this particular site. However, what shows on Google is realapps/signal. So I'm going to copy this link. The link here, realapps.com/signal. Now on this OKEkBot back again, where it says click similar link, I would put in the link I would want to click on, which happens to be realapps.com/signal. Here I will put in the seconds we would want to spend after clicking the link. I presume 3 to 5 seconds is fine, after which I will click on the plus button to add it to my secondary task. So let me give you a recap again. We said we want to visit up google.com, spend 3 to 7 seconds, after which this is an expert. We would want to type into this expert. What we want to type into is Sportybet prediction software, and then we hit enter because that is the name of the activity we would want to perform or the task we want to perform. After which we wait to 2 to 3 seconds. If that has been done, we would click on a similar link because then it will take us to a new page. We'll click on a similar link. The link will be realapps.com/signal. Now, once this link has been clicked on, we want to wait 3 to 5 seconds. Now, if I click on this link, this is what it takes us to. Now, remember I said I would want to click specifically on this particular Sportybet predictions. So to do this again, I would see right click, inspect, and look for what the link is. So from what I can see over here, this is the link to the Sportybet predictions. This is it over here. So I'm going to copy this link once again. I'll head back to OKEkBot and I'll click on this history or this menu to switch back to add up more features. And I will tell it to click on the second link, which is this link over here. And I will tell it to spend 2 to... Okay, now this is what happens. It clicks on the link and it spends some time. So I would make it to spend 15 to 30 seconds. And then once again, I'll click on the plus icon. So now this means I have 3 secondary tasks. First task is to head over to Google, type in Sportybet prediction software. Second task is to click a similar link like Signal, realapps.com/signal. Third task is to, click that particular virtual football, which is the Sportybet virtual football. And this is all we want to do for this particular task. So now I'm done with the secondary task and the primary task. I can now click on add to executable list. Now this would add every single thing I had said. Navigate, visit google.com, 3 to 7 seconds. Click on this expert, type Sportybet prediction, head over, click on the link, Realapps Signal, head over, click on a link, Realapps Signal Premium for Sportybet. Now this is just one particular task or full task I would want to execute here. I could decide to start adding up more, such as to make a analysis on the page, track advertisements, track objects on the page, and even more. But I'm just going to stop this there for a short demonstration. I'll click on Save Executable List. I would give this executable list a name. I'm going to call this Sportybet. So I'm going to save this. Practically, I've walked you through creating bots on OKEkBot, and now I've walked you through creating a task, which basically we just created a task that says visit Google, type into the Google search, click a particular link from the Google results. From the website that has been opened, click another link and spend up to 15 to 30 seconds there. Now let's prove this in action. I'm going to shut down this browser, and like you can see, the only app available right now is the OKEkBot app. From here henceforth, I would start executing the tasks we just created, and you can see how flawlessly they would all be executed without detection. The only detection I know of at the moment that could get Google to deduct whatever earnings we make from this leads to demonstration is the fact that they were coming in from one IP address, as I have not created a proxy for this UK bot I had just created. But a short demonstration would not be bad. So here again, I'm going to click on the menu, and when the menu comes up, I'm going to click on launcher mode. On the launcher mode, we have different ways of launching. We have the first free one, which is what I would make available for this demonstration, so you can practice what you just learned. So I'll click on the free random executor. This free random executor opens up, giving us the opportunity to select the task we would want to execute. Right here, you can see where it says executable. This is a task you would want to execute. I'm going to click on this option and look for the task we had just created. The name of that task is SportyBet. Having chosen SportyBet as the task we would want to execute, next is to choose the bot family or clusters of bots or group of bots we have created that we want to execute this. Now this is where we would click in UK. Now in case you don't know, after we created those bots, UK bots, they became UK 001 to 0045. If I click on this manage bots, and on the manage bots, if I click on the bot family called UK, okay, I presume I would have to shut down OKEkBots and reopen OKEkBots so it properly loads every single bot I created. So I'm going to put in my API key again and wait a bit. Each time you create a bot and they don't reflect on the managed bots, you can shut down OKEkBots, reopen it again, and it will be available. So if I hit back here on manage bots and I click here, you can see the UK we created is now available. Now this UK has from UK 001 down to UK 0045. So in a nutshell, the bots we had created at the beginning of this tutorial are now very much available. Their time zone is Europe/Amsterdam. So that's been noted. We're going to head back again and click on the launcher mode. On the launcher mode, we're going to click on the free executor. On the free executor, just like before, we're going to click on the task we would want to execute. For instance, SportyBet. The bot family would want to execute this task, which was UK, which is the new bot we created. And below is how we would want the task to be executed. Let me explain. Over here is the device brand. This is for iPhone, this is Android, this is Mac, and this is Windows. Each of them represents how many devices would you want to have popped up. For instance, we created 10 iPhones on the bot family UK. So I could say I want up to 1 to 2 iPhones popped up at all times. For Android, I could say since Android was 15 Androids was created, I could say I want 2 to 3 iPhones, 2 to 3 Androids always popped up. Now what this simply means is that The task we created called Sporty Bets, which involved making a Google search for Sporty Bets, will be executed by a bunch of bots in a bot family called UK. The way it's going to be executed is that there would always be 1 to 2 iPhones executing a task, a minimum of 1 iPhone, a maximum of 2 iPhones at all times. There would always be a minimum of 2, a maximum of 3 Android at all times executing this Sportybet task, and that is what. Now, all I have to do to get this running is to click on Start. The moment I click on Start, you will clearly see that each and every single one of these bots would pop up. They would all visit up google.com. Upon visiting google.com, they would all make a Google search. Okay. You can see this first bot has already gotten to this extent where it's already on the second page. This other one, it's still on the first page on the Google search. So practically, this bot opened Google, search for Sportybet virtual football prediction software. Upon opening the page, it stayed for the seconds we had told it to stay, after which it had clicked on the first result we had specified. It stayed for some time, after which it had clicked on the second result we specified. So practically, it has automated the exact same thing we did, but now we have about a lot of browsers running this infinitely. Now, this alone simply means I could automate hundreds and thousands of bots to make a Google search around my niche and always click on my website from the results page, which in return increases my Google ranking on SEO front page, gives me a whole lot of search impressions, and also a whole lot of ads revenue, amongst other things. Now, if you were to do this as a human being, you would have to open as many browsers as possible. And even at that, you can't have your mouse moving on every single browser. If you look at every single browser, you can see an icon moving around. That icon is practically what we call a mouse sensor. Whenever you move your mouse on each of these browser, you see that the icon follows your mouse. So practically it tracks your mouse. So now in a nutshell, not only is OKEkBot opening up so many browsers and making a Google search for my own keyword and clicking my website from the Google search, but they are also actually scrolling around the page, moving up, moving down. There are lots of engagement around the page. So the website is not just open statically. It is actually being opened in an interactive way where there are lots of movements around the page. Now, when each task is completely done with executed, that means when the amount of time we had specified would want to stay on this page elapses, we can clearly see that bot would go off only for a new bot to be popped up to replace it. Now, this is just the beginning phase of OKEkBot. We could actually do smarter automations aside making a Google search and clicking our link to build SEO ranking. We could do more advanced features, but that will be on a other tutorial. This tutorial has succeeded in teaching you 3 major things. The first thing you learned on this tutorial was how to click on creator mode and create bots. You also learned how to create tasks and automate each and every single step as you would perform as a human being on a web page. You also learned how to launch task, which is to head over to the launcher mode and pick up a launch flavor, the free random executor, the pro random executor, or the orderly executor. In subsequent videos, we would explain in details the difference between each and every one of them. But on this free tutorial, you learned how to use this free executor to actually drive lots of SEO engagement to a particular search string for your website. On more videos on OKEkBot, we'll go into the advanced features to show you how to use AI to scan websites in real time and perform very complex activities that no other bot can perform aside OKEkBot at the moment. See you on episode 3.